The best way to get people connected with your brand is to tell a story in what you do, because the second you start competing on design and price, you are just basically selling a commodity. You're not selling an experience.
You're listening to Thrive by Design, business, marketing, and lifestyle strategies for your jewelry brand to flourish and thrive. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Thrive by Design podcast, episode 180. Hey there, it's Tracy Matthews, Chief Visionary Officer over at Flourish and Thrive Academy. I am stoked to be here helping you with your jewelry brand or fashion brand or accessories brand, because everything I talk about here is awesome for independent product-based businesses, especially in the fashion and jewelry space, because everything we do is really replicable and relatable to those types of businesses. Today, at the end of the year, I always like to do things to prepare you for the year that's coming. And I've done so many episodes that involve planning in the past, some of them with Robin, some of them with me, just alone with me, some of them with other experts like Nina Cooper of Nina Designs. And I wanted to bring you something a little bit different today, but that also would be helpful as you're thinking about best laid plans going forward for 2019. And so in this episode, I'm going to be referencing a bunch of my favorite podcast episodes about planning, about marketing and stuff, because they are relevant, but I didn't want to repeat the same content. So I'm trying to cover this at a different angle so you can strategically map out how you're going to align the content that you create with your sales and financial plan for the year. Because at the end of the day, content marketing is still a thing. It's very important. It's much cheaper if you do it right than running ads or any of that stuff to get traffic to your website and to actually make sales for your products. This is super important, especially in the jewelry space. Plus, I'm making up words now. See what happens? It creates community around your brand, which if you've ever listened to me and heard me talk about the reasons why people buy jewelry, it is specifically because of how it makes them feel. And that is it. And I can tell you, I just probably did too much shopping over the Black Friday weekend, bought a bunch of new clothes and shoes. And when I look at my recent purchases and start thinking about the things that I bought and try not to feel guilty about spending money on those things, I really felt like I need a closet refresh. And I'm saying this because when we think about the reason why people buy jewelry or why they buy clothing or why they might buy a new handbag or a pair of shoes, when you think about this, it's like one of the reasons why I like to dress the way that I do in my own particular style is because it makes me feel like me, different, unique. I love finding new things that are beautiful that no one else has or that is harder to find. And so I don't want you to discount the value of what you are bringing into the world, especially, when you're trying to navigate, the waters of running a successful jewelry brand, because there are a lot of reasons why people buy. But the best way to get people connected with your brand is to tell a story in what you do, because the second you start competing on design and price, you are just basically selling a commodity. You're not selling an experience. And for those of you who are in my lane and trying to focus more on creating community and a brand for yourself, you must create an experience with that. It's very, very important. So that's what we're going to talk about today, about how to align your content or even create content that, reflects back to your sales plan so that you can start thinking strategically about what you're putting out in the world and make your business a better business. You in? I'm in. Okay. Well, today's sponsor for the show is the Jewelry Brand Makeover Bootcamp. We decided to run it again this year because we love creating community over here at Flourish and Thrive. And we know one of the ways that we can be most helpful, me and hashtag Team FTA, is when Robin and I host these boot camps at the beginning of every year. These boot camps are designed to help you take a look at your brand. If you've done it before, I highly recommend that you do it again. I'd also love to hear from you, to hear out what your experience was like, because what I do know from people who've taken the Jewelry Brand Makeover Bootcamp in the past is that it is eye-opening, because what people discover in these boot camps are the things that very successful brands have been using for years. It's how they make money. It's how they attract customers. It's how they curate product. It's how they design. And so we like to bring this to you in little bite-sized lessons during like an 8 to 10 day boot camp where you can kind of commune and join your fellow jewelry makers and designers there to get excited about what it is that you're trying to create in your business. And so I highly recommend you going to check that out. And I wanted to mention this because I will have a link in the show notes, or you can just head over to flourishthriveacademy.com/makeover. I'm going to list at the end of the episode where you can grab all these. I'm going to be mentioning a lot of things in today's episode. So I'm just going to host them all over at the show notes so you can check it out. And one more thing that I'm really, really excited about. Have you taken the Jewelry Brand Brilliance Factor quiz yet? We created this amazing quiz, or actually I created it because over the years, over the last 6.5 years, I've spoken to so many types of jewelry designers, makers, artists, whatever you want to call it. And we've been able to kind of dial in several different like brilliance factors. And that's what we're calling it, the brilliance factor of how the way you approach your business and the way that you think affects how you can be successful in business. And the Jewelry Brand Brilliance Factor quiz, it's slightly a tongue twister, but I like it that way, is designed to help you hone in on what you're creatively really good at in your business and use your natural talents to actually grow your business. This is not about necessarily trying to force yourself to be good at something that you're not good at or that you don't think that you're good at. It's about being creative and using your creativity to grow your business. Hashtag creatives rule the world. You're going to be hearing me talk about a lot of this over the next coming months because I'm launching a new brand in January, which you'll be hearing me talk about, which I'm very excited about. It's all about this idea of using your creativity as your number one tool in business. And I think a lot of us who are artists shy away from the idea that because we're creative, we're not good at business. It's a myth. And I'm here to bust this myth for you guys. You are good at business. It's just about leveraging your type of creativity to make it work for you. That's what it's all about. So I'm excited about this. I hope you'll join us for the Jewelry Brand Makeover Bootcamp and also take the quiz with us because it is awesome. You're going to love it. So 2 weeks ago, episode 178, I interviewed Gina and Jared Rushton of the Fox and Stone, and I had a blast doing it. We had to whip together the interview really quickly because they basically were doing me a huge solid. Plus, I wanted to give them a huge shout out because they had totally pulled this Black Friday sale off like gangbusters. And I'm just so proud of what they were able to accomplish working with our coaches in SOS to get this thing off the ground when they thought that they were heading into a dismal holiday season because one of their number one shows was pulled away from them. So make sure that you listen to that. But I bring up Gina and Jared because the number one thing that they were trying to create in 2018 was consistency in their sales and creating predictable sales. And then also learning and discovering how to plan better when they're having a promotion so that they're fully fleshing something out, not only with their email marketing and their Instagram and Facebook marketing and their ads, but also with the content that they're putting out in advance. And they talk a little bit about that on the episode. So definitely check it out because I think that you will glean a lot of excitement from what they had to say. So let's dive into today's episode. It's really about aligning your content, the content that you create, with your sales plan so that you can sell a lot more in 2019 and reach all your goals, whatever they may be. So first and foremost, hopefully you know what content is, but if you don't, I'm going to be crystal clear on what I mean by content because there is a whole different, everyone perceives things differently. So let's just get crystal clear on what I'm talking about and what I mean by content. Content is anything that you put out to promote your brand. So it could be images. It's all the posts that you do on social media. It's all the blogging that you do on your website. Is also the emails that you write. Anything that is put out into the world to promote your brand across multiple platforms. It includes imagery. It includes the words you use. It includes video. It includes any sort of contextual pieces that you're doing to promote what you're doing. Why this is so important is because if you use a content marketing strategy right, you can really use this to not only grow your email list, but to also grow the success of your sales in your business if you're planning it out in the right way. And so that's what today's episode is all about. This is exactly what we teach you in our amazing signature course called Laying the Foundation. And this is exactly what we coach our designers who are working with us one-on-one in our SOS coaching program with. This is what we help them implement and get off the ground really, really quickly. So you're in for an amazing, amazing experience here. So first and foremost, I'm going to walk you through a couple of steps. I think I have 5 listed out, but knowing me, I probably add like a 6th or a 7th or something in there. First and foremost, the thing that you need to start with is actually have a sales plan for your year. And so ideally, what you'd want to do, and I'm going to refer you back to some episodes, but I'm going to do a quick recap here, is evaluate your past year's numbers, identify your revenue streams, determine what percentage of your sales are coming from those revenue streams, put an excitement factor by those things. Like, do you love selling wholesale? And if the answer is no, then maybe you focus on building another revenue stream up. Or do you like selling at in-person shows? I know a lot of the designers who have joined us for SOS are just burnt out because their primary business is doing in-person shows and they want to be able to leverage that online. So if you are someone who is like that and you're making a lot of money from shows, but it's burning you out, let's figure out a way to replace that income somewhere else. That's exactly what happened with Gina and Jared. That's what we're working on with several of our designers in SOS, Jen Licia Ames, and also Allison Callaway Young and Jenny Woods. They are like working like dogs doing shows, and they're trying to translate those show sales into online sales so that they have a better life. So you want to set your sales plan. And then when you set your sales plan, you want to also, after you identify all those things that I talked about, numbers, you want to create projections for the next year. Do you want to have an increase? So map out your increase on a spreadsheet and then look at your months based on the current sales that you did each month. Identify if there was a big event. So in episode 178, Gina and Jared talked about their big fluke event on Etsy and how they knew that they weren't going to be able to replicate it. So if you have any events like that, where you had a big influx of sales that was like a one and done type of deal, and you need to replace income from that, you want to probably figure out a way to even out the sales throughout the other months so that you can get to a place where your income is predictable, consistent, and a little bit more stable. And it's awesome to have huge spikes in revenue, but what we're trying to do is create consistent revenue, not as much the solid ups and downs, just more consistency, right? And so when you're setting your sales plan or your annual plan, whatever you want to call it, you want to think about a lot more things. So I'm going to give you some episodes to listen to after this that I think will be really helpful. The first is the audit piece of this is we always recommend doing an end of the year audit. Episode 128, which was released about a year ago, is 5 questions to ask yourself to kickstart the year with a bang. So definitely listen to that because we're going to talk about auditing your existing business. Then go ahead and listen to episode 69. This is all about planning your year and all the stuff that you need to do to create a really successful plan for whatever it is that you're trying to create in 2018. And also, we're going to be talking a little bit about content marketing here. So I'd highly recommend that you listen to episode 88, how to create a marketing plan for a jewelry promotion, because I'm going to be talking about how to back out content to support your marketing plan for any jewelry promotion. So the next thing that you want to do is ideally you're doing this more slightly in real time. You can have a loose plan, but things do change. So if you're working on like the beginning of 2018, if you're a small and nimble business, things often change by the end of the year. So it's a good idea to have an idea of what you want to focus on and do. So map out like the high level deliverables, any shows that you want to replicate and repeat, and start looking at where the gaps need to be filled. And then once you do that, I want you to take a look at just the first quarter if you haven't really created a solid plan for this yet. And the reason why I say that is this is where we're going to start mapping out content now for what you're doing for Valentine's Day, for what you're doing for Easter or Mother's Day, that all the stuff that's coming up. Because even though Mother's Day is technically in the second quarter of the year, we want to start thinking about content for Mother's Day in the first quarter because second quarter is going to come up really quickly. So you're going to map out your 90-day sprints. And what we do in our SOS program is we have this sprint planner. And basically the way it works is you're thinking of you're thinking of your high level goals, what your theme for the period is, and then 3 deliverables that you're trying to roll out during that time that back up your main goals. And I feel like one of those deliverables always needs to be sales. So we need to focus on that as well, because without the sales coming into your business, unless you're taking a step back, and building a foundation for your business. You don't really have a business yet. You kind of have an expensive hobby, and we're trying to get you to a place where you have a business, which is identified as a profitable entity. And if you've been in business for a long time, like me, and you're trying to get better at this and get more ahead of it, this is a great place for you to reinvent. And so sometimes I talk about these principles on the podcast, and I've been told that sometimes what I teach sounds like it's just for people starting out in business. But I guarantee you that many of you who have been in business and maybe even are doing hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue or even more, you drop the ball sometimes on a lot of the stuff that you have to do or that you should be doing in order to fully promote your brand in the best way possible. In fact, I was just in Chicago a couple months ago at the Chicago Responsible Jewelry Conference, talking to some really high level designers who make a lot of money, and they're doing really well in their field, and they're known as top designers in their niche, I guess you call it. And some of them are like, Tracy, I think I need your help. And so it just doesn't stop. So I don't want you to think that this is just a single stage thing. It's really about continually taking a look at where you are and improving on what you're doing and then filling in the gaps where you need it. So identify 3 objectives for the quarter, map those out into your sprints, and then take a look when you're doing those objectives. Step number 3 is really to map out the promotions that are going to support your sales during that time. So in Q1, we have Valentine's Day. We have the early prep for Easter, if you focus on that, or Passover, if you are working on religious holidays. And then you might even want to do some sort of promotion around spring, since spring is coming up and it's a great time to launch a new collection. This could also be for collection launches or any sort of like birthday sale or anything, any random cupcake day sale, whatever it is. Best friend's day, I don't know. Think about all the different things, the different fun things that you could potentially create a promotion around for the holidays. And whether that might be a discount or a gift with purchase or, a gift box or even a subscription box or something like that. These are great things to think about as you start mapping out all these things. Once you have the promotion and the dates set for the deliverables on your marketing calendar, as we like to call it, and make sure that you listen to episode 88 because we walk you through how to do this. What you want to do is start deciding what kind of content you're going to create for it. So let's dive into a few ideas. I'm going to use an example holiday. So let's say you're going to do a promotion for Valentine's Day just because it's easy and it's coming up in February. You want to start thinking about that now. So what you want to plan is an email marketing campaign, which is content because there's emails that need to be written, starting at least 3 weeks out, teasing that Valentine's Day is coming. I would plan it out so you're sending several emails a week. And then within the last 2 weeks that you have ready to ship merchandise available and that you're hardcore promoting what you're offering for Valentine's Day across all channels. So you would need content for Pinterest. So you need pins. You'd need Instagram posts. You would need Facebook posts, maybe posts in your Facebook group if you have a Facebook group for your jewelry brand. If you do use Messenger bots or anything like that to communicate with your customers, you might want to do like a Messenger push where you're inviting people to take a look at your collection through Messenger. And then you want to think about all the content that you're writing on your blog and your website. So are you doing a gift guide? So maybe you're having like a gift guide, hottest gifts for Valentine's Day, and you partner with some other brands to collaborate on promoting a gift guide where each of you have a product in the gift guide. And then you can think about additional content that you can put on your blog, like how to make surprise your sweetie this Valentine's Day, or 3 surprising ways to delight your sweetheart this Valentine's Day, or something like that, where you're giving just like more lifestyle advice. Then you want to think about how you're going to get exposure, on alternate channels. This is a great opportunity, let's say for a Valentine's post, to pitch different kinds of blogs. Maybe it's a gift guide that you're pitching to guest blog on Refinery 29, or maybe it's Mind Body Green, like 3 mindful ways to show your sweetheart that you love them this Valentine's Day. And you can write an article for Mind Body Green all about, mindfulness tips on how you can, really be intentional about how you're showing up for your sweetheart. And then the final plug is like, and we love jewelry. Jewelry is always one of the best ways to show your sweetheart that you love them. Buy a piece, this intentional jewelry that I designed, blah, 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 blah. The 5th topic is always yours. And I want to thank Susie, my friend Susie Moore, who has an amazing course on this called 5 Minutes to Famous, where she definitely helps you map these things out. If you haven't checked it out, I will put the link in the show notes. Anyway, so there's just a lot of ways that you can create content. that will actually get people to your offer. But you want to make sure that it's all mapped out on your marketing calendar. And I want to talk a little bit about the timelines here too, because for a blog post to actually work, you need the proper lead time, which leads me in to my fifth topic for today, which is all about lead time and leading up. So let's say you're pitching something for Valentine's Day. You'd probably want to pitch that article starting now in mid-December to a blog that if you're going to try to guest blog. So I'd pick out like 5 to 10 guest blogs, come up with a couple of different angles for a pitch and pitch them all, different angles, and see what you can get based on the publication, and be ready to write that quickly because they're going to want to get it up in January. So this is a great way for you to get traffic to your site. Then also think about what you're blogging on your website, because it takes a while to get SEO juice up and to properly promote that. And what you want to do is plan out the content in advance, write it, get it posted, and then leverage it in multiple ways. We figured out there was 35 ways to leverage one piece of blog content. And this is why blogging is so important, because it helps increase your SEO and brand juice. But it's also a valuable tool. You can write this one thing, one blog post, take pieces of it, and parse it out into all these different social media platforms and email platforms, and even use it in your like automated sequences on your website. So definitely do that. And then think about all the platforms that you would use and create micro pieces of content based on that one blog post to promote everywhere else. So you want to be thinking about all these things and make sure for sure that you have pins that you're sending to Pinterest, where you can get traffic to your website from Pinterest for any of this content. So think strategically. Pinterest is a great way to get traffic to your site. Time-sensitive things like Valentine's Day, you probably want to start pinning sooner than later and getting that ready to go right in the beginning of January. But then also there is something called evergreen content, because I'm kind of going back and forth here. Evergreen content could be anything that your brand stands for. So let's say you are a custom jewelry designer like me, and you specialize in doing rose-cut diamond engagement rings. You can create evergreen content that can be recycled and re-promoted on an ongoing basis over and over again that you can use in your content plan. So we're talking about creating content for a promotion that aligns with the sales plan that we have, because we're going to have sales projections. But you also want to make sales in the downtime. So how can you consistently bring traffic and interest to your brand and your website? Well, that is created by creating evergreen content for stuff that you stand for all the time. So, I mentioned the idea of intentional jewelry gifts. You could even post something on your website about how to be more intentional with your loved ones and write a post and then talk about your jewelry at the end if you sell intentional jewelry. If you're someone who does like really off the cuff stuff, like electronic kind of inspired jewelry pieces, like one of our designers in SOS, Yulia, she could talk about the top 10 tech hacks for 2019 and then have it like, if you're a tech geek like me, wear your tech on your sleeve and like buy one of these amazing pins or a necklace or something like that. There's just so many different ways that you can leverage content to create value and add value to your customers, increase SEO juice on your website, and create community around your brand, because that is what community is all about. And to create this list of raving fans. And then as you start creating all this content, I want you to think about how you can start weaving video into this. I haven't mentioned YouTube yet, but this is a great way. YouTube is an awesome way to start getting traffic to your not only your channel, but creating community around that and getting traffic back to your site. But also Instagram's huge. So we have Instagram TV where you can do short story videos, repurposing the same content that you're writing just for this one promotion. You can do the 1-minute videos that you can post on your feed. And you can also create slightly longer videos, I think 15 minutes in format for IGTV. So there's just a lot of different ways that you can leverage one piece of content in multiple ways, whether it's for a promotion or whether you're curating this for an evergreen sort of status where you're trying to get traffic to your site on a continual basis. So basically, let me dial this back down to you and kind of bring it home, because I know that there's a lot going on here. You want to think about, first of all, creating your plan first, because this is what you're going to be working on. So this is your sales plan and all the deliverables. You want to make sure that you're mapping these out in quarterly sprints. So I'd start with the first 2 quarters of the year. I would have high-level ideas for the last 2, but they might change. Map out any big events that are going to be in there, and then start working backwards to create your content. Any sort of blog and content, especially for specific holidays, you want to make sure that you get those up and posting at least 2 to 3 weeks at a minimum, but ideally up to a month, sometimes 2 months for evergreen content in advance to start building the juice that you need for it. And then from there, you want to keep driving traffic to those posts to get people to the next step. Then you can take that piece of content and repurpose it in everything that you do. Then what you're going to do is start mapping out your promotions and your deliverables. Let me take it back. Curate the content that's needed for those. It also includes your email marketing plan, and then lead with the proper lead time, which is all great. So content is king, you guys. I want you to really be thinking strategically about all the ways that you can use different types of content on this, even on the same topic, that can be repurposed across multiple platforms to keep building interest for your brand. This is the most important thing that you can absolutely do. And I want to remind you that this is a no-brainer. You don't have to keep reinventing the wheel every single time you want to write a new Instagram post. Think about what you can repurpose that aligns with your goals that you can bring out there in the new year and beyond to continue keeping this go. So my best advice to you is to stay really organized. Use a marketing calendar in a spreadsheet, or map it out actually on a calendar. You want to map out all the deliverables of everything that you're releasing for any promotion or any evergreen type of thing that you're creating. And then from there, you want to continue driving and moving that forward so that you can continue to create community around your brand and engagement and authority for what it is that you do. And I'm going to say this again. I mentioned a couple of episodes, but if you listen to what Gina and Jared did, they've done such a great job about creating community on their channels. And they are some really rare people who sell a ton through social media. What they've done is they've discovered and learned that they're moving those customers onto their email list so they can market to them later, and finding ways to create a conversation around their brand and excitement for what they do by showing up and being there for your customers. So if you're new to content marketing and you're not really sure where to start, I really want you to start with the basics, the 101. And that's why I want to remind you about our Jewelry Brand Makeover Bootcamp. This is going to be an epic opportunity for you to really dive deep into what makes your brand desirable. Why do people want to buy jewelry from you? And if you're not crystal clear on that, or you're finding that you're struggling to communicate, or sales are going down, or you're having difficulty getting to that next level in business, I feel like no matter what stage you are, this is just a really great opportunity to take a deep dive into your story and all the things that make your story epic and all the things that make your brand and set you apart from all the other jewelry designers and makers or brands out there in the industry today. So whether you're a jewelry designer or a fashion designer or an accessories designer, these principles still hold true. So make sure that you join us for the Jewelry Brand Makeover Bootcamp. We have a little way that you can get on the wait list over at the show notes, or you can just head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/makeover and get on the wait list, and you'll be the first to be notified when we open the doors on January 8th. It's really an awesome experience. And I know that the holidays are coming up and you're going to get busy and forget to hear about it. So make sure that you get on the wait list now so that you're one of the first to be notified, and you can start getting all the pre-goodies that we give out in advance, because it's really awesome. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I hope that this was really helpful about how you can align content with your sales plan, not just for 2019, but for years to come, because this to me is an evergreen episode, and the principles that we talk about in this are tried and true, and they're always going to be around. So think about all the ways that you can leverage not only one piece of content into multiple ways, but to back that content up that you're creating to align with what you're trying to do with your promotions and your sales plans. I guarantee you, if you start to and learn to do this well and you plan in advance, business will be so much easier and consistent sales will start coming to you on the reg. Trust me on that. Or you'll be able to grow your sales a lot more than they already have been. So thank you so much for being here today. I'm excited to bring you this show every single week. If you like what you're hearing, I would love for you to rate and review the show wherever you're listening. Thanks so much for being here today. Tracy Matthews, signing off.